Last night, I had some strange dream and revelation that I could find a way to safely and non-demonically win every single match of TF2. PC Gamer had the audacity to release an article where they told us how to never ever lose a game of TF2 ever again, claiming it is unbeatable, as well as some other pretty cool games, like an article on Universe at War. God damn, that game was a fever dream.
Sir, Novus is preparing an attack on the Purifier.
Will these machines never cease?
Don't forget to subscribe, because in part 2 of this, I recruit a group of local homeless streamers to try and enact the tactics for these unbeatable maps. That way, I can It was just published by EA? That's an odd one. I took a look at the site's official page and the wiki and, yeah, no mention of EA. Then, I remembered that I had my copy of the orange box. So I thought I'd just go check that and... no mention of EA. The only thing I could find is that EA had an agreement on the orange box, so they could be shipping out physical copies only. So that means the one we're playing is the orange box, the original. I know it seems silly to kind of start off with this, but I find this is going to make this thing a lot more interesting. Alright, let's get into this. If you want this free issue for the future, just let me know down in the comments. Okay, well, getting started, however, it's important that we introduce the mercs, even changed to this day. I mean, look, the scout has got the scattergun, he's got the pistol, classic, baseball bat, his health, and 400 inches per second movement. What? Yeah, one thing I noticed during this is that they're using inches as measurement, though no amount of time, and trust me, I've tried, and research, I've not even been able to try and replicate what they were trying to use for this. So, don't know on that one. So, they say the scout is light, easily, and can avoid enemy gracefully through his movement. Yeah, still true, still true. The soldier, my personal go-to, and there is one thing I find really sweet about reading a lot of this. It says the soldier is an all-rounder, using rockets to go in the air and taking out sentry guns. It then goes on to say, if you're an old-school deathmatcher or quick on your feet, soldier is your class. This is what gets to me with Soldier. Games that are like Unreal Tournament and Quake made TF2 feel familiar to myself. It's sweet to see the game's journalists were also quite fervent on games at the time, but they missed the part where the soldier does a fucking triple sync jump followed up by a perfect jerk and beats the shit out of you for sure. Before I leave this page, I want to make it known how much it looks like Soldier just smote you ripping gas.
I'm sorry, soldier!
The Pyro, even then they knew the extent of his fear. The nastiest class to run into when turning a corner. He's simply probably the most lethal close quarters class there is, as mentioned here. It says they're often on defense, too. And immediately I thought, oh yeah, because of the reflect. What an ugly looking man. Wrong. This is the original orange box version. At the time in the PC version, we were about 3 months off having that added in. Can you imagine after that and how much they praise it adding Air Blast? How much of a pick must Pyro have been? For the Demo Man, not much is here that we can't disagree with now. He can hold choke points with stickies, his long-range pipes can blow up anything that is in his path. Demo Man is the class of choice making for noise, apparently. It seems that Valve agreed, as in the exact same month they shrunk the ammo reserves of the grenade and sticky launcher respectively. Damn, guess Demo will need to try and make noise another way. Heavy, the poster child. Much like the big man himself, the description is really simple and nothing that has drastically changed over in the past 18 years. They do mention he can take care of scouts easily, which I suppose isn't too wrong, followed up by what I imagine they really mean, if your aim is a little rusty, the Heavy is a perfect class for you. You suck if you play Heavy. The Engineer. The Engineer, so much of this is a time capsule into how much things have changed, just by even a simple weapon. Hit us out and I will leave a picture of the gunslinger on screen so you can try and just figure out what I mean by that. You can practically hear the years washing over. The defensive backbone of any team. The engineer builds useful devices such as sentry guns, dispensers, and teleports, tactical placement of these devices, and the ability to maintain them under fire. If you are better at planning than fighting, you're a natural-born engineer. Need I say more? 300 inches, by the way. At a staggering 320 inches, however, Medic is our next choice. And this one still holds true to this day. Being invaluable to offense and defense, he's critical to be kept alive. On defense, he is critical to keeping team members at their posts, meaning they have not got to go to retreat. If you want to kill hordes of enemies indirectly, the medic is what the doctor ordered. On a side note, it's honestly how stupid back in 2008 they had this understood. But I know all of us has been in an example where we needed a medic on a team but couldn't find them. Now, get this. If I'm Sniper and I deliver a full body shot to you and you're left with 25 health, back to the resupply cabinet you go. I didn't just get a kill, but I pretty much just got 80% of a respawn on you. You were completely out of commission while you walked back. The medic is meant to stomp that time away. More on defense, more chance of winning. Hey, who the funk? Now, the Sniper didn't really have much written on them, just a paragraph. Which makes me think that people were still adjusting at the time to their skill level and how to play certain classes better. This remark also makes me feel like they only got a couple of kills during their match. Look, see what I mean? Nobody beats Sniper at long-range combat. Find a perch and dig in. He can easily slow and advance. If knocking the helmet off a soldier 400 paces off sounds fun, then the Sniper's class is for you. 300 inches, that's it! Now, observe a normal Sniper now, basically a nightmare class in the right hands. This might be one of the most insane examples of how skill changes a class. Props to every single Sniper main that has come out of the 2008 swamp. Right, last and not least, and my personal favourite if you've been over watching me on twitch.tv, Tyrrell TV. Yeah, you're the right class for the job, man. You did it. Oh, fuck! I think I'm going to read this in a big brooding tone. The spy excels at the black arts of infiltration and assassination. With the ability to disguise himself or become fully invisible at command, he creates havoc in the back lines. He is the enemy's worst nightmare, a dangerous foe, indistinguishable from friend. If you prefer guile to brute force, the spy is what you are looking for. 300 inches, let's go! God damn, this is why I love Spy. Such a unique concept that exudes drama in his every being. Also a nice touch naming the proper knife as his weapon. That is indeed a balisong. I googled it. This is an amazing example of how cool the design was at the time, and still is. But skill and time have excelled our Frenchman into a plenty of other tactics and playstyles, but at his core, he's just cool to play from all different perspectives. Finishing us off with a screenshot from Valve themselves, where two people that I played last year are here now, Driller and Eric. It's very sweet, I gotta admit. It's also cool just to see how little things have changed. I'm not gonna go into a timeless game design rant, but once again, it's obvious that with such tiny nudges and weapons and designs, the game has been changed drastically since this time.
So whilst it's great having all these classes all decided, well, we need to play the maps. I've been deciding for a good while where I want to host this transition, this segue, but I thought no better place to review these maps in an active train yard, where trains rarely ever hit and the bit basically writes itself.
Tisful, wake up. Tisful TV.
No, I don't want an NFT, no.
What the fuck? What's an NFT?
No, I don't want the iPhone 16, no.
What are you saying, man? What are you saying? Wake up, it's 2008, TF2 just dropped, man.
What? That's right, you really didn't think I could get away with not doing a bit, right? So, what I did, as I said earlier in the video, is I got a whole bunch of TF2 celebrities, tubers, Twitch streamers, all together under one roof. The shot? Oh, it's hinted. Oh, you want to talk about the brow? It's Polly. Bikini? The heaven. The jazz? It? The cherry? Nuked. Taunts? It's a lot. The Lee? Unusual? The bear? Eddie. I got a whole host of friends who all play TF2, and we somehow jerry-rigged the TF2 engine to work in the exact build of 2008, which comes with its own host of bugs, issues, and I must say, some absolutely beautiful ways to work around the time.
Oh, there's no MP tournament yet, so I, through hours of investigation, discovered that there is in fact an old Half-Life Deathmatch clan ready-up system that exists in this version of TF2. Now, it works in kind of the same way. It stops players from starting the round before everyone's ready to play, but there's no fancy UI. There's no button to just quickly select it. No, the players have to manually type all chat when they are ready to type. Now, this word can be ready. It can be go. It could be, let's play. It could be any of those.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what's happened this year? The year of 2008. Most important thing, Obama is finally president. We have put into implementation the Obama start game system. The teams must present their Obamas to the chat in order to begin the game.
And sometimes flat out forgetting the core mechanics of some classes straight up do not work.
Moving on. Obviously, the objective here was to try out these unbeatable tactics, so each team was given these tactics in a pre-match interview. Not every class had a tactic, and some were more or less just general tips, but whatever we had, we passed along to the players. We then set them out against each other on these maps in order: Granary, 2 Fort, and my favourite, Dust Bowl. However, I ask, what did our teams pick for their names? Well, as of the 2008 time, we had an elite fight between Team Pingus and Team Lamal Waffles. Very appropriate. Granary's tactics mainly consisted of taking advantage in the high ground, in mid, and the containers and the ramps, which we saw heavies making use out of each and every time. It also stated that in the enemy compound, the defending side could make use of the flank to get round the side and break a defense.
Cyber fuck! Chloe knew!
Now, I'm gonna mention this here as I kept coming back to this during the night. Due to a lack of speed boost from items, the lack of mobility for our engineer, let me remind you he can't move his buildings, so each time if he wants to move it, he has to delete it and start all over again. The fights were slowed down so much, to the point when where a sentry was up, it became a big problem to deal with.
They have a sentry still there.
And the supercharge from a medic held so much more weight. We did also find out that due to no air blast for pyro, demo and soldier spam was often just free due to their insanely large ammo capacity. Each point was fought with multiple attempts. This pace is diabolically slow. I suppose it's also at this point we found out how much quality of life TF2 has added over the years. In this build, there are no damage numbers or hit sounds. Players reported instantly like they had no feedback to damage until the enemy just kind of died, leading to some unpredictable fights where these seasoned players were guessing their damage output. Oh, an auto reload, that wasn't added yet, so get ready just to be bashing that reload key for your entire gameplay. However, our teams kept their team tactics in mind. Snipers stood painfully away from their enemies, medics were a priority pick for their value, and scouts made quick use of their speed to make flanking maneuvers. 1-0 to Team Pingus. So, it was off then to 2 Fort, which obviously does not sound competitive, but from some old footage I dug up from Insomnia, it was sometimes played, and the magazine mentioned it, so hey, why not? And it was fun. It was nowhere near nothing that could be considered competitive, but hey, let's see those tactics anyway, shall we? So, the sniper battlements must be maintained, so that bridge crossing is always safe. Similar to the modern age, I'd say. It mentions soldiers and demos could pipe jump up through the enemy battlements to make a quick entrance or flank to the enemy. Engineers, and I hate to suggest this, place your buildings up in the ramp as it's the one place everyone must go through to get your intelligence. Yeah, that tactic's still used today to instantly make 2 Fort matches a stalemate of 1 hour plus, Well, I hope it doesn't come from PC Gamer magazine. I hope it's just painfully obvious to do this on 2-4. Moving on. We played 3 separate rounds to gauge up a vibe, and holy moly, maybe it's the quality of the players here, but Scout really does excel at being the intel stealer. Without a way to slow him down, catch him out with any unlocks like mini sentries, Natasha, or anything to chip at him and slow him down, our Team Binger's Scout slipped in and out of the enemy intel room, much to the dismay of the casters.
Lex is making it. He's not going to be stopped. There's no one there to meet him. And he's going to cap the point. Slides right on.
We should also mention, Heavy, in the right hands here, literally destroys harder than a pyro.
Mikey's about to cap, but there's
Mikey.
a spy hanging out down there. Inshot's down here.
Inshot, the last line of defense. Mikey does not see him.
He doesn't see him.
Is he going to see him in time? Is he going to see him? Oh, and the Polly's just a little menace.
But now, with Team Pingus officially the winner, it was time we moved on to Dust Bowl for one last sprint. Dust Bowl being my favourite overall, it was going to be really fun to see how these matches go, compared to a more, say, casual lobby. We delegated our final tactics to our teams, and there was nothing really anything specific other than telling spies to stay in the back line, medics to help soldiers and heavies push on sentries for defenders, and of course, get your sentry up and be protected by your team whilst defending. This was a sprint to see who could cap the fastest, and boy, did we really start to see where the unlocks break open opportunities for players. Most of the time, we found that attackers would often have more advantages while attacking. However, when the attackers had no teleporters up, we saw that painful slow pace be brought to the fold. This was one of the few times where the tactics was absolutely correct, in which teleporters need to stay up for your team to press your advantage. But the same for defenders as well. Once an engineer's nest had been completely deleted, most of the time the defense just crumbled. Maybe this is down to how I feel about my favorite class, but oh my god, how on earth could they say Spy is scary for this version of TF2? At nearly every single opportunity, backstabs never landed once you were found out you were dead, and the watch in this version, to our understanding, was not patched to break its sound by barriers. So if you decloaked on the other side of a wall, you were heard immediately. You had to be so careful while playing Spy. Every pick felt like a true win. It was only fitting we saw Pingus score another sneaky backcap to exploit that slow pace again.
The movement to get a few more red players, they take out the teleporter. Blue team straight back to square one. Red team maintaining their position in the corridor now.
Wait, what? Oh, but there's a sneaky backcap going on!
Oh my god! No!
And after the two teams went up against each other, this time Lamau Waffles took the win for a total capture time of 14 minutes versus Penis 16 minutes. All round, a great set of matches. Let's try and wrap this entire thing up in a nice little bow, shall we? Genuinely, playing this and watching experienced TF2 players play in this playstyle, it really drags down the pace of the game. So many things, so many unlocks, little nudges here and there from various weapons, and of course, character changes, really do affect the game's pace. It is monumental that even just giving Spy a little bit more extra speed changed him completely, and giving Air Blast completely altered the game. Honestly, I know, timeless game design, blah blah blah, but legitimately, these tactics here, they're not the worst by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not exactly the best. They more just sort of go off a little bit of understanding and game sense and move on. There's no such thing as an unbeatable tactic, it's stupid, but it's kind of interesting all the same. It's amazing to see how it was played back then. Look at this video I brought up from a very old Insomnia game where TF2 came out in 2008 and they played 2-4 competitively. It looks worse than a pub game, it's amazing.
Honestly, I went in completely blind into this experience. I wanted to see firsthand how TF2 changed in its lifetime, and I was really kinda shocked, or rather surprised how different the game felt. Yes, it is still TF2 to its core, but it didn't feel like this refined experience later Golden Age TF2 would turn it into. I really had a blast, while also somewhat being reminded over and over again how I couldn't do things that felt normal to me. Most notable for me was the placement and replacement of buildings. I don't know how many times I misplaced my gun, only for me to have to destroy it and then rebuild it. Also, not upgrading the dispenser or teleporter felt weird, and I sometimes instinctively tried to do it nonetheless. Thanks again so much for having me. This was an experience that I never thought I would have, and I'm glad I did, but honestly I'm just happy with the TF2 we have today.
I had a lot of fun playing on the server. I was playing medic, and for a while it felt really slow. Like, healing people was way too slow. It just felt like all too sluggish, and not being able to see how much health people exactly have made it really hard to make those like split-second decisions on who to heal. But in a way, it was really refreshing. It felt like playing TF2 with a new coat of paint in a way, even though you're actually just playing it with all the coats of paint scraped off of it. But yeah, I definitely want to play it again sometime. It was a lot of fun.
I really enjoyed the TF 2008 tournament. I didn't really notice a difference in terms of my heavy gameplay, other than I didn't have the sandwich as a choice. But I usually play like Fast Scout for the memes anyway, so it wasn't too much of a difference. It felt fairly okay in terms of the class choice. The map choice was definitely different. It was, as a more casual player than a competitive player, I found it more fun. But I can see why in the long term it wasn't a decision that was stuck within most like competitive scenes. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing, especially 2-foot. It's just something about taking like a CTF map completely seriously. It's just very fun. But no, I had a really fun time. Definitely different. And yeah, I would recommend it to anyone who wants to download an old version of Team Fortress 2 and give it a go.
Playing TF2 in its original state was a fun experience, and it surprised me how familiar it still felt, despite lacking the many updates and quality of life changes that we've gotten used to over the years. It was definitely rough around the edges. You had obvious things like engineers being unable to pick up their buildings and pyros being unable to air blast, but the thing that stuck out the most to me was how slow everything felt. Walking to points felt like walking through sludge, and though the lack of automatic reload didn't affect me too much as a sniper, what did get me was the auto zoom after firing. Also, I don't think you could quickscope. I had a lot of shots that seemed like they'd be headshots, but they'd end up not registering, so I had to get into the habit of waiting a second or two before firing, and it didn't really mesh well with my flicky reactive aim style. Overall though, it was a lot of fun.
Oh man, what a rodeo. I didn't really have a lot of expectations. I knew there will be jank, but I do have to admit the fact that playing heavy after so many years of, now we're playing the modern times and we have a fully patched game, mostly functional. But I can tell you, playing heavy again, like as it was back then in comparison to today, there wasn't a lot of difference. Heavy is big gun, good, my biggest gripe was just Chloe me being absolutely amazing at the sniper. I didn't stand a chance. But it was also fun to see clips of the spy on the enemy team struggling. There was so many times I should have died, but he just whiffed the knife because yank. It's freaking fun. But anyways, thank you so much for inviting me. This has been absolutely amazing. I hope we do this again, or maybe something else. Who knows?
This is the outro for everything, so thank you very much for sitting through and watching it. If you did, really appreciate it. Consider a like, consider a follow, this sort of thing. It makes me laugh, just seeing the differences. Massive thanks out to Tilly, who was able to get the server up and running with a lot of the insanity that came along with it. Congratulations to all the players, well done for Team Pingers for winning said match as well. And of course, thank you to Dynam as well for doing a bit of admin on the side for us during the matches. I've never ran a tournament before. Maybe I can do a couple more in the future. Any ideas, let me know down in the comments below. And hey, come catch me on Twitch on Wednesdays and Sundays, 7 PM British time, and I play TF2 and some other stuff as well. I know, generic outro, but thank you very much. Have a great time. Count your victories.
Tearsall TV, I think, is a pretty hot dilf, personally. I personally would let him ruin my credit card score. That's my opinion on Tearsall TV. I clear going in the video, thank you. You're welcome.